What's up, guys? Rob from Jabrans Gaming here. Finally bringing you my NHL Free Agency wrap-up video that I said I was going to do a while ago, but been waiting for some of the bigger guys to get signed, and you know, finally the last guy I was waiting for got signed after forever. Whatever, I'll get into that later. So since I have a lot of guys to get through and about 26 minutes to do it, let's start. So obviously with the compliance buyouts to get under the salary cap, there was a lot of depth in the free agency due to a lot of people being bought out or not signed in the first place. So I mean, the first big one that you really heard of was Vincent LeCavalier. He got bought out by the Tampa Bay Lightning and he went to the Philadelphia Flyers. Obviously LeCavalier is a great player. There are some questions on whether or not he should be on the first line or if he's still a first line caliber player. Um, I don't know if you can be a first line kind of guy in Philadelphia because obviously they have Claude Giroux as their number one. Maybe you can play on the wing. Who knows what they're gonna do with him? But you know, LeCavalier, victim of the compliance buyouts. It's a decent signing by the Flyers, I suppose. But the Flyers' main concern was really defense, which I don't know. If I guess LeCavalier being a center, he can kind of play a little bit of D, but obviously he's more known for his offensive talent. Um, Second guy, another one being bought out. Daniel Briere was bought out by the Philadelphia Flyers, and he went to the Montreal Canadiens. Um, Again, it's a decent signing by Montreal. It's nothing that's gonna address a serious issue for them. Um, because in my opinion, the most serious issue in Montreal outside of defense, because their defense is a little weak, is probably their size in the middle or on their size in general. Um, So I mean, maybe Daniel Briere is not exactly, the direct answer to size issues in Montreal. Um, don't get me wrong, he's a good player. He hasn't had a really great couple of last regular seasons, but this guy is just money in the playoffs. So maybe that's what Montreal is going for. I mean, they won their division last year, so maybe they'll be contending for their division title again. And they want that playoff kind of experience and playoff scoring that a guy like Daniel Briere is going to bring to the team. Um, I mean, I don't know. He wasn't clicking really all that well on Philadelphia, to be honest. So, maybe a change of scenery, playing on the first line. And I mean, well, I don't know if he's going to play on the first line, but Montreal's forwards, they could use some scoring. They have Plekanec, obviously, Pacioretty, Galchenyuk if they play him. So, I mean, they have some scoring, but a guy like Daniel Briere is going to help them. So it's a good signing by Montreal. It's not the greatest, but obviously it's a good signing. Third one, this one was actually really, really surprising to me was Mike Ribeiro from the Washington Capitals to the Coyotes. Now, I remember at the trade deadline, there was tons of rumors flying around about Mike Ribeiro being traded. Oh, trade him for this guy, trade him for a young guy, do this, do that. And what they ended up doing is trading Philip Forsberg for Martin Erat or Mike Fisher. I don't remember. I believe it was Mike Fisher, but I mean, either one of those guys, Philip Forsberg is worth way more than either one of them. So I really didn't like that trade for Washington. I don't know what they were doing, but Washington kept him, and he had a really good season. I think he had something like 46 points in 48 games. And I remember in the beginning of the season when Ovechkin was more or less a non-entity on the team. Like he was scoring, but he wasn't, scoring like Ovechkin should. And he really wasn't doing much in the Capitals, which is slipping farther down in the standings. They had goaltending problems in the beginning. Holtby and Neuwirth were struggling a little bit. They couldn't score goals. Like it was just all over the place for the Washington Capitals. And Mike Ribeiro was one of the only guys doing anything. So to me, it's a really silly choice by Washington to not re-sign Mike Ribeiro. He was doing great for them. Like I said, he was almost like a point a game. I mean, you can make the argument that he was only point of game because he's playing alongside guys like Ovechkin and Backstrom, on certain lines or, second line center. But I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't understand why Washington wouldn't re-sign a guy like Michael Barrow. But he goes to the Coyotes. I don't know. I don't think Coyotes are going anywhere. That's just my opinion. I really don't think they have the team to go anywhere. I mean, Mike Smith, yeah, he was injured, but he also struggled, and they really didn't go anywhere. So I don't know if the Coyotes are going anywhere this year. I don't think he's going to have the same amount of points he had this year. He's maybe going to have like 50, 60 point season, but there's no way he's going to be almost point a game. I mean, he could if he plays alongside the right guys, but I mean, in my opinion, the best forward that they have in Phoenix is Shane Doan. So Donors can get him a couple points, but I don't know if he's gonna have the same season. Rob Scuderi, free agent from the LA Kings, goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's a good signing for Pittsburgh. In the playoffs, their goals against, and I mean, especially against the Islanders. I mean, that series is just all over the place. You can make the argument it was Fleury, but still, I mean, that was just crazy. And Scuderi's a really solid defensive defenseman. I like Scuderi. Um, LA probably should have tried to hold on to him a little bit more, but I mean, I guess if he wants the money, he's gonna go to Pittsburgh and he wants a shot at the cup. Even though he got a cup against with the Kings 2 years ago. So I don't know, but it's a good signing by the Penguins because Scuderi's a really good stay-at-home defenseman, so that's something they could need to possibly help Fleury out a little bit more, you know, with any inconsistencies he might have. So probably the Kings probably would have liked to held on to him, but good signing by the Penguins. This one was very big and actually shocked a lot of people, and it kind of shocked me too. Was Daniel Alfredsson? I mean, oh my gosh, Senator for life, everyone was saying, but no more. He signs with the Red Wings. He decides to play another year, and I guess I honestly doubt that it's a money issue. I doubt that he went to Detroit for more money. I think what Alfredsson wants is probably a shot at the cup, and Detroit probably offered him the best deal and the best what's it called, chance to get that cup because Detroit's a really good team. So I guess Alfredsson wants that cup. Um, I really I don't know about Alfie because I really don't like his attitude in the playoffs where oh, we're gonna lose, there's no way we're gonna come back. And that's not a captain's attitude. That's not the kind of attitude you're supposed to have. But it's a really good signing for Detroit because Detroit is just stacked out of their mind now with Zetterberg, Datsuk, now Alfredsson, Nyquist. They lost Bruner, who I don't think he's been signed yet, has he? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Damian Bruner was signed. I believe. I have no idea actually, but um, yeah. I mean, Detroit's just gonna be filthy this year. So it's good signing by Detroit. It sucks for the Senators to lose Alfredson, but what are you gonna do? I guess. Next signing, Ray Emery from the Chicago Blackhawks. He got signed by the Philadelphia Flyers. That's decent, I guess. Um, Emery had a really amazing start to the year. He played solid all year, really gave the Chicago Blackhawks what you want from a backup, which is just to win games when they do get the chance to play. So he had a really good year with the Blackhawks, but I don't know. I personally don't like Ray Emery because of his history of problems he's had with teams, getting into fights and all that and being a detriment to the locker room. So I'm not thrilled about Ray Emery, but it's a decent signing. Another huge signing, Nathan Horton. He gets signed by the Columbus Blue Jackets, which, I mean, that's crazy. He's a super, I wouldn't say he's a superstar, but he's a really, really good player. He plays both ends. He can check. He had surgery on his shoulder, so he's not going to be back till December. But, I mean, can you imagine, like, Nathan Horton with Marion Gaborik? Like, Horton brings the grit, Gaborik brings the speed and the scoring. That's crazy. So it sucks for the Bruins to lose a guy like that, but it's a great signing by the Chicago Blackhawks. Ryan Clough from the Rangers to the Devils. That's decent, I suppose. The Devils lost Clarkson to the Leafs. So I guess they're trying to replace him with Clo, but they way overpaid Clo in my opinion. Again, Clarkson went to the Leafs. That's okay. I mean, in my opinion, Clarkson's overrated. He had a good season 2 years ago. 30 goals, all that, and he can check, he can score, blah blah blah. But in my opinion, I think Clarkson's overrated. And I think Toronto overpaid him. Andrew Ference from the Bruins to the Oilers. Ference is a good defenseman. He's pretty solid. I don't know how well he's going to do on Edmonton only because of the team they have there. So unless Edmonton's trying to make a run, I don't know. It's a decent signing though because Ference is good. Valtteri Filppula, he was a guy that I wanted the Islanders to get, but he went to the Lightning from the Wings. It's pretty good. Filppula is a really speedy guy, so that's the reason I wanted him for the Islanders because he plays like Islanders hockey. Speedy guy up the center. He can pass, he can shoot pretty decently. But he goes to the Lightning, which I think will be a good fit for him. There's no way in hell he's going to be a replacement for Vincent Lecavalier. Because if you think about it, Lecavalier, I mean, no offense to Valtteri, but I mean, Lecavalier is on a whole nother level than Filppula. So I guess Filppula might get first or second line minutes there. Maybe second line minutes behind St. Louis, but it's a pretty good signing. Filppula is a good player. Goaltender. Khudobin goes to the Canes from the Bruins. I know the Bruins wanted to hold on to Anton Khudobin, but I guess that didn't happen. It's a decent signing by the Canes. Khudobin's pretty good, especially because the Canes lost Dan Ellis. So they get a good young guy in Khudobin who could potentially turn into a solid backup for Cam Ward. So it's a good signing. Like I said, Dan Ellis goes from the Canes to the Stars. It's all right, I guess. The Stars needed a backup goaltender. They don't have Andrew Raycroft anymore. I mean, in my opinion, the Stars should bring up Jack Campbell and start grooming him now. I mean, Letton's young, but if you bring up Jack Campbell, give him 20, 30 starts in a regular season, I think it would be good to start grooming him now. But I mean, Dan Ellis is pretty decent. This one kind of pissed me off. Jerome McGinley goes from the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Bruins. I mean, the whole trade deadline snub of the Bruins. He decides to go to Pittsburgh over the Bruins, whatever. That was quite silly. And then the Bruins go back and sweep him, and now the Bruins sign him. Just, I don't know about Iginla. I had a lot of respect for him on Calgary, but on Pittsburgh, he really became a dirty player. So I lost some respect for Jerome Iginla as a Pittsburgh Penguin. But he plays Bruins hockey. He can hit, he can score, he can check, and all that fun stuff. So he plays the gritty style of Bruins hockey. So he'll be a good fit. Um, he might be on par with Nathan Horton, so he might even be better than Nathan. So I guess they're taking a replacement for Jerome McGinley there. This one, it's not really like a major signing. It didn't really make any headlines, but Stéphane Fournier signs with the Montreal Canadiens, and Stéphane Fournier was the captain of the Halifax Mooseheads who won the Memorial Cup, so that could be a guy to keep an eye on, Stéphane Fournier out in Montreal. Um, the next one, Nikolai Khabibulin goes from the Oilers to the Hawks. The Bulin Wall makes his triumphant return to Chicago. Um, Bulin, he's been struggling the last couple of years with the Oilers, but then again, you really got to look at the team the Oilers have, and no offense to any Oilers fans, the team just wasn't good, so his numbers were pretty bad. I guess he can make a decent backup. That's probably what Chicago's going for. They lost Ray Emery as their backup, so they probably want Bulin to make a good backup to Crawford, which I think he can do. I mean, he's at that point in his career where he's got like 1 or 2 backup years left in him, and then he's probably going to retire. So it's a decent signing by the Hawks. Michael Ryder goes from the Stars to the Devils. That's decent. Ryder is pretty good, I guess. He can score, but I don't know. That's okay. I mean, the Devils were really. I'll get into the Devils later. Derek Roy from the Canucks to the Blues. Derek Roy, when Philpilla got signed, Derek Roy was another guy I wanted the Islanders to look into because of his scoring ability. And I guess it didn't work out for him in Vancouver. He's a good player. He was on Buffalo and then he was on Vancouver, but I guess it didn't work out from there, so they decided not to re-sign him. So that's a great signing by the Blues because Roy is very good. And then finally, what allowed me to do this video was Jaromir Jagr getting signed by the New Jersey Devils. Finally, Jagr picks his team and gets signed. It's good. Jagr's pretty old. He's not slow, but he's slowing down, obviously. Only 10 assists in the playoff run. So, I don't know. It's a good signing. Out of all the free agent signings that I decided to talk about, I really think that Alfredson, Horton, um, and Fournier are ones to keep a look at. LeCavalier, obviously, he could be good with the Flyers, but Fournier, I just want to keep a look at because, captain of Halifax, so I'm not sure how good he is. And then Horton, he could be the piece the Columbus Blue Jackets were missing. I mean, they barely missed the playoffs last year, so I'm going to talk about re-signings now. So we have Sergei Bobrovsky re-signs with Columbus. Excellent signing by Columbus. 2-year deal. They saved him from going to the KHL. I don't understand why Columbus wouldn't want to sign him. I mean, the Vezina winner, he basically almost got that team in the playoffs. So it's an excellent, excellent signing by Columbus. And if Bobrovsky can have, maybe not as good a season, maybe not a Vezina season, but if he can have a solid season, like keep his goals against, hovering around 2.25 or below, and his save percentage like 915, 920, I mean, yeah, man, he could get them back into the playoffs, Columbus possibly. Logan Couture re-signs with the Sharks. That's a good signing for the Sharks. Couture was really leading their playoff run until they got eliminated, so it's an excellent signing by the Sharks. He's a good young player. Bozak for the Leafs. That's decent. Claude Giroux gets re-signed by Philadelphia long term. That's good for them. They need to lock up Claude. He's obviously the face of the franchise, the future. Really good player. He can dangle snipe, and he's also not afraid to get, gritty. He can hit and fight, so it's a really good signing. Sam Gagner re-signs with the Edmonton Oilers. He was in trade talks for, who was it now? Luongo? I don't remember, but Gagner was in trade talks, like they're going to trade him. Brian Little re-signs with the Winnipeg Jets. That is a really good signing. Little is a good young guy, good young playmaking center, so that's an excellent signing there for Winnipeg. They lost. Who'd they lose to the KHL? It wasn't Wheeler, it wasn't Ladd, it was a center, it was a young guy. I don't remember, but he's one of them. Their centers signed with the KHL, so it's a good thing they locked Brian Little into a contract. Trades at the draft, obviously you had Vancouver Canucks trade Corey Schneider for the 9th overall pick. Now, I have mixed feelings on this. In my opinion, New Jersey, their rebuilding era needs to start basically when Brodeur retires. So, in my opinion, the Devils probably should not have traded for Corey Schneider. Now, don't get me wrong, Corey Schneider is a great young goalie. Well, I wouldn't say great. I mean, in my opinion, Schneider's overrated. Um, but Schneider, um, he's 26. So, I mean, you start your rebuild now, you get the 5-year rebuild in. By the time your rebuild's done, basically Schneider's 31. Um, Now that's good because a lot of goalies peak in their early 30s, but in my opinion, the Devils should have kept the pick, drafted a young goalie like Zach Fucale, who went to Montreal coincidentally. But I mean, I'm interested to see what Schneider's going to do. Probably split time with Brodeur, maybe like 41 games or 50-30 in favor of Brodeur, something along those lines. Um, it's interest. I'm interested to see what happens there, and when Brodeur retires, obviously Schneider will be the number one there. Um, Boston trades Tyler Seguin, Rich Peverly, and Ryan Button for Louis Erickson, Joseph Morrow, Riley Smith, and Frazier from Dallas, and that's pretty good. I mean, Dallas addresses their depth and center issues with Tyler Seguin. Yes, they trade away Louis Erickson, who's really a pretty solid 28-year-old, I think he is, 26. But Dallas definitely addresses their need there in the center. Such a good trade. Um, Jakub Silverberg, Stefan Newson, and a first for Bobby Ryan. Anaheim, great trade for Anaheim there. Um, well, no, great trade for Ottawa. Anaheim, I think, lost out on this trade, but that's fine. Great trade for Ottawa. They got it, Bobby Ryan. And now let's. Oh yeah, and then Edmonton Oilers get David Perron for Magnus Parabe in a second. That is a great trade for both teams. I think that's a solid hockey trade. Edmonton Oilers get a good young playmaker in David Perron who can also score, and Edmonton gets a second from a team that's likely to be pretty bad, and Payarvi, who's also pretty young and solid. In terms of the Islanders, we buy out Rick DiPietro, so the DiPietro era is done. We trade Nino Niederreiter for Cal Clutterbuck in the third. Honestly, I don't know about Clutterbuck. We signed him, but I don't know how good he's actually going to be on the team. I would have kept Nino and tried to get something maybe a little bit better, but we'll see if Clutterbuck can provide depth scoring. We signed Peter Regan and Pierre-Marc Bouchard. That's decent, I suppose. They can both provide depth scoring if they can stay healthy. I mean, Bouchard can provide really good depth scoring if he can stay healthy, you know. Um, we re-signed Hamonic and Hickey. Hamonic's contract, I forget how much it's for, but oh my God, do I love that contract. It's long term for relatively cheap for how good Hamonic is and how good he's gonna be. I love that contract he got, and Hamonic is, in my opinion, probably our best defenseman at the moment. Hamonic and Amac. So we lost Keith the Coin and Yoansu. I don't remember where Yoansu went. I think he went to Edmonton, but Keith the Coin went to St. Louis. I'm a little disappointed. I loved Keith the Coin because he could provide that depth scoring. Keith the Coin was an excellent depth scorer, a really hard-working guy, and I wish we would have re-signed him for that, third line scoring. But oh well. We traded Mark Streit to Philadelphia for Shane Harper and a fourth-round pick. I love this trade only because it gets rid of Streit. Now, Streit was the captain, blah blah blah. Streit is a bad player. I mean, Philadelphia needed defense. They didn't need Streit. Streit has combined over the last 2 years for the worst plus minus. And yes, you can make the argument that maybe the Islanders weren't the best team over the last 2 years, but I mean, league worst plus minus. Let's be real here. The Islanders made the playoffs this year, and you have Streit, who's still league worst plus minus. When you have teams like Edmonton that are just horrible. No offense to any Edmonton fans, you're going to be solid in the future. I mean, anyone who follows hockey knows Edmonton's going to be deadly. I mean, you got teams like Florida. So like the fact that Mark Streit was the league's worst plus minus, he's just awful player. I don't like Mark Streit, and he was a bad captain. So we get him off the team. We can make way for Tavares to be the captain, and that's excellent. We re-signed Evgeny Nabokov and Kevin Poulin. Poulin's going to be good. He might be able to make a starter one day if we start grooming him. I think we should give him a little bit more starts this year. 25, 30 starts behind Nabby. Nabby's decent. I kind of wish we would have went for a guy like Brizgalov because I really think Brizgalov could have a bounce back season, but it's decent that we get Evgeny Nabokov. So I really think the Islanders are going to make the playoffs this year again. Maybe a little higher, maybe 6th seed. I don't think we're going to win the Metropolitan Division, but we're going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And last but not least, yes, Ilya Kovalchuk retires from the NHL. Signs a 15-year deal and retires after 3, I think. 2 or 3, but I don't know about Covey. I mean, in my opinion, the Devils aren't going to make the playoffs, and they're probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Because over the last 3 years, they've lost some of their best players. They lost Zach Parise to Minnesota in free agency. They lost David Clarkson in free agency, and now they just lost Ilya Kovalchuk. So who's going to be their first line? I mean, you have Zajac, Elias, Henrique. Okay, you stack the first line, and who do you have in the second line, Michael Ryder, and then Jaromir Jagr and someone else. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great either. So, I don't know. I mean, Kovalchuk cited family reasons for leaving, and that I can understand. That I can get. He's a family kind of guy, so he's leaving to go be with his family, which is understandable. So I don't know, and he can come back after 5 years or something when his contract is up or whatever it is. So that's that's just a Kovalchuk thing. But this is gonna be that was my free agency wrap up video, and as you can see, I'm just doing a shootout here. I hope you guys enjoyed. You can leave your comments in the leave your opinions in the comment section below. You know, who's gonna make big impacts, who's gonna make the playoffs, who's not gonna make the playoffs, such and such. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.